So now I would like to introduce our next proposal presenter, and I'm going to make sure I get the name right here. I know the name is Renetta, and her last name is Sena. Am I pronouncing that right, Renetta? And so Renetta is going to speak on, so many of us have heard of this issue, deployment of 5G small cell technology. So please welcome Renetta up to the podium.
Thank you so much, everyone. It's a great pleasure being here. My name is Renetta Sena, and I'm from a small Northern California town close to Lake Tahoe called Nevada City, California. I'm coming out of left field on this topic, and I'm going to try to get you up to speed. Many of you don't know what's going on because it's very silent. It's encroaching, and that's by design. 5G. So first of all, what is 5G? It's a wireless network. It's a wireless technology. There's been second generation, third generation, fourth generation. We are now entering fifth generation. Fifth generation is going to be a deployment of small cells, 2 million across the United States. But there's a problem. There's no assurance that these transmitters are safe for public, health, wildlife, or insects. There's never been any studies whatsoever. The other thing is this is not the normal technology that you're used to with your cell phones. This is a millimeter wave. Millimeter wave is actually a military application. It is tiny, tiny, tiny little pounding frequencies that have a huge impact on you. They plan on putting them through all of our public right-of-ways. And without any local control, no oversight, no monitoring, and no environmental EIR whatsoever. It's pretty bad. What's happened? The FCC is a captured agency, ladies and gentlemen, like all the other ones. Instead of regulating the telecom industry, the FCC is now regulating your rights. But what is behind 5G? Unprecedented levels of wireless radiation exposure, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year everywhere. And what does that mean? Well, within the last 10 years, the public's exposure to wireless radiation has increased by an estimated quintillion times. That's 1 with 18 zeros. That is not a typo. In the last 10 years, there's been such a large proliferation. This has become the largest biological experiment ever in humanity. And it's not just the humans, it is the unborn. It's the birds, it's the bees, it's even the healthy bacteria that's in our soil. So basically what they're doing is these are small cells, but they're not. They're actually more of a power density, a power input than the largest cell towers on your hilltops. But the problem is they're going to be 15 to 25 feet outside your children's bedroom door. The other thing is that this is distance is your friend. The further you are away from your cell towers, the further away you are from your cell phone, the more protected you are. But the problem is that these are going to be placed all throughout up and down your neighborhood. And again, with absolutely no public input. So skip this. It's a race against science. You are being war gamed. We're all being war gamed. It's an old tactic from the cigarette industry. What is that? You make sure that you place industry-friendly people in the big agencies like the World Health Organization. You make sure you just send out misinformation so you don't know the truth. And you make sure that you discredit anybody who's speaking up against them. That is what the telecom industry is doing. It's the biggest lobby industry in the world, and you're being war gamed at your expense. So what is it? Did you know that the radiation that's emitting from your cell phone has been classified as a 2B carcinogen? I didn't think so. The resonance effect. You and I cannot live without the 7.83 hertz that's coming naturally from the planet. Without it, we all perish. The frequency from all of our wireless devices, right, is actually interfering in that life-giving resonance. Well, so happens to the destruction, it's actually destroying and vibrating our insects to death. And this is not woo-woo. This is not conspiracy theory. It's a matter of mechanics. It is the exact same principle of the opera singer going, ah, and shattering the wine glass. We know from 2 peer-reviewed studies that does the same thing to our DNA. Next. The rapid and unconstitutional deployment of 5G is causing turmoil in every city, county, and every state across America. This is an evisceration of local and authority and control. Our local and state governments must take action now to protect their constituents, because this is going to be done in 2 years. Next slide. We urge you and your local governments to join Senator Blumenthal from Connecticut and Congresswoman Anna Eshoo in California in asking the FCC to prove that 5G is safe. Has anybody here ever heard of the precautionary principle? It doesn't exist with corporate America, and our lives are at stake. So we're asking you to do a telecom ordinance in your local government. We're asking you to actually ask the FCC to do the industry testing they should have done before they ever deploy this technology to us. And this is a race against time. And the reason why is 1996 Telecom Ordinance. In 1996, they forbid elected officials like myself to make any decision based upon health risks. What I'm saying to you today can get my little town in Nevada City sued because I'm warning you that this is going to hurt you. From 1996, that's what we're up against. So basically, the only FCC regulation, the only kind of testing that's ever been done on your phone is 30 seconds at a time. And we are under complete 24/7 bombardment everywhere you go, and they're taking 5G up to space every 3 days. Elon Musk is sending out satellites, so the whole planet will be saturated within a matter of a couple of years from 5G, and you can't opt out. So these are just a short list of the thousands of peer-reviewed studies. When you are told that it does not exist, and that there are no peer-reviewed studies, again, you're being lied to. And there's many different studies here, as this one right here. So what can you do? Go Google it, educate yourself, talk to everybody you know. This is a fast-moving train, as fast as I'm talking. And lastly, talk to your congresspersons, insist upon studies, make sure that we try to get Congress to amend the Telecommunication Acts of 1996 and join your city, all the other cities who are suing the FCC because of this. And I'm gonna go sit down now and catch my breath, and if you want to, there's the slide presentation at the back of the room back there, a little tiny table, and we're gonna have it online. And I'm gonna go breathe now, thank you so much.
Excellent, thank you so much. A lot of information in a short time. It shows you can do it. So we'll go on to our next proposal now. And next we're going to take the California Medicare for All proposal. And we have a few people who have worked on that. I'm not sure who's going to present it. I see we have Bob Jung and Betty Toto here. And they will tell us all about it. All right.
Okay. All right. Sisters and brothers, glad you're here. I think, we're going to talk to you about a proposal you're voting on tomorrow.
Very little information in a little time.
Right. So I think Paul Song really dropped the mic, talked about the issues, talked about the challenges we have. So we're not going to go too much into that. The proposal is in the Google Drive folder. You can take a look at it. It's only a couple pages long. And, I think one of the great things about CPAs is bringing us together. My name is Bob Jung. I'm with the Santa Clara County Single Payer Healthcare Coalition, and I work with Ruth Carter here, who's from the Marin Healthcare for All group, and then Betty Toto here, Ruth Carter, I said, and Betty Toto here, who's with the National, California Healthcare for All, and the three of us never met each other. CPA brought us together to work on this proposal, and as an alliance, right? That's what we were talking about earlier, right?
The meaning of the CPA.
All right. So then I'm going to turn it over to Betty, and you can talk about what we're trying to do here.
Yeah. Okay. So this is pretty much which many of us have already know the information that's in the proposal. It's a single payer and improved and expanded Medicare for all. Basically, it's an outline of our goals, our principles, and our strategies to bring about a single payer bill both on the federal and the state level. We currently have a bill, a federal bill right now, Pramila Jayapal, HR 1384, and we have nothing in the state. Okay, frankly, in my opinion, it's a heavy lift on the national level, but we still must move forward and work on that bill. It should be a much easier lift on the state level, but as Paul said, many of our legislators who are supposed to be Democrat, it is on the California Democratic state platform. We do have a supermajority of Democrats. We do have a pro tem that's last authored the single payer bill the last 2 years, and we do have a governor that actually was candidate who ran on single payer, so it should be easy, but we don't have a bill right now. So the proposal outlines all of the goals and strategies on how to get there. Many of them are redundant, and you've seen them yourself. There's also an action that we are taking, that we are asking the coalition, the allies to work towards in the proposal. We're going to speak a little bit more about that at our breakout table tomorrow. So we'd ask you to join us, because after that, then we vote on the actual proposal, as well as, hold on a second. Oh, yeah, okay. As well as at the table that I have out there, I have quite a few actions that anybody can take, ally organizations can take, individuals can take, including an action next week for the federal bill, which is basically phone calls to your representatives. And we're going to just discuss it more. And I'm going to give it to Ruth for a second, because she wants to talk and give an ask for you.
Yeah, I have a very specific ask. If you are a member of a union, if you have a small business, we need you. We need you in the state of California in order to move the legislature forward.
Our next proposal, and this one is a proposal that I'm very excited about. It's called Corporate Power, Militarism, and Perpetual War. We all know that's a big thing. The authors of this are Norman Solomon, who is not with us, who some of you know is the founder of Roots Action. It's a Northern California group, and Norman Solomon is an author, an activist, ran for Congress. He's a great activator. And the other authors are Michael Cervantes, who's with Veterans for Peace, Ventura County, and he's going to be our presenter. And we also have an author from Veterans for Peace East Bay, and that's Eugene Rule, and their organizations gave input. So with that, I would like to ask Michael Cervantes to come up to the stage. Let's give him a round of applause.
Well, it's been a pleasure meeting some of you. It'll make it a little easier to speak here with you. I'm going to probably just read this. You all have received the proposal in the PDF. I'm just going to kind of state it in a little different way here. It's been written, like Gail said, by Norman Solomon. So we're grateful for that, the Veterans for Peace chapter. I'm a Vietnam War veteran. I did a year in the jungles, infantry, drafted. And there are, Veterans for Peace is an international, it is an international organization now, but it's a national organization. It's an educational and humanitarian nonprofit organization dedicated to the abolishment of war. It is a nonprofit, and this is one item where Gail and I kind of discussed a little bit about her wanting to introduce nonprofits to the CPA. So what I can say here about the proposal is that you're going to be asked to weigh in on the intersection of corporate power and the military-industrial complex. Military spending shockingly accounts for 54% of the government's discretionary budget. One of the most powerful indictments coming from an American saint told us once that a nation that continues year after year to spend more money on military defense than on programs of social uplift is approaching spiritual death. As the current government leadership continues to divert precious tax dollars from health care, education, housing, nutrition, child care, elder care, and so much else, we should likely conclude that Reverend King had been a resident prophet. The negative side effects of our going into perpetual war is that we begin to meet back here at home the returning vets with PTSD and traumatic brain injury, cases in the tens of thousands. We keep on exacerbating a culture of violence and hypermasculinity. Young men are taught to be a man, they must prepare to be violent. Recall the gender of those responsible for the latest recent mass shootings in the U.S. of A. I invite you to pick up VFP statement on gun violence at the table. Like the VFP mission statements on interventions that drive its existence, our existence, VFP, the CPA is likewise demanding that it make aware to others that foreign interventions are responsible for damaging so many lives, families, homes, infrastructure, squandering taxpayer money, and causing resentments that only engenders more resentments and return violence. Another section of the proposal talks about military recruitment in the high schools. In 2004, Veterans for Peace Ventura County made its beginning addressing the issue of military recruitment in the high schools. With some luck, with some studious elbow grease, the chapter was able to get its chapter members onto high school campuses in order to inform youth that they have the right to hear the opposing viewpoints of the military career choice and to hear the downside of that choice. I mention this because the CPA membership is also making aware to others that a possible poverty draft may be in operation at present that makes it nearly impossible to free ourselves from the cycle of supplying forces to those interventions. And finally, I'm going to go really quickly. Finally, we need to mention that, or the proposal mentions that there's a need to be made that year after year, and do I hear Martin Luther King Jr. again here? Year after year, involvement of the University of California with such places as Lawrence Livermore National Laboratory and the Los Alamos National Laboratory, involved for purposes of profitability and further developing weapons that could extinguish human life on Earth. So therefore, let it be an action request of the CPA to make the proposal on corporate power, militarism, perpetual war, a founding document awaiting only the votes to be given at this weekend.
We know how important that is. I mean, right now, we have the issue of intervention in Venezuela being a big, big concern. So I'm really grateful for the great work of Veterans for Peace. So thank you, Michael, for that presentation.